From Relay, this is Connected, episode 515. Today's show is brought to you by our excellent sponsors, NetSuite, Vitally, ExpressVPN, and KRCS. I'm one of your three co-hosts, Federico Viticci, and it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote chairman, Stephen Hackett. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Federico. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here, and I think it's going to be a fun episode.
I think it is too. And I'd like to introduce our annual chairman, Mr. Mike Hurley.
Hello. It's interesting to think that keynote chairmanship's probably going to go back up. Well, it's not probably. It is going to go back up in a couple of weeks. I wonder if you're going to retain.
We'll see. The iPhone event, it could happen any time.
Yeah, it could be tomorrow.
Well, probably, maybe.
Look, these days,
do you know something we don't? Okay.
No, but it could be though, right? Because they just put out a video.
Remember when they did that weird Mac event for Halloween last year?
So stupid. Sometimes I feel like I don't know why they did it.
I think in my brain, I think about that event with the same energy, sort of like the same brain energy and brain vibe as the iPhone 5C. You know, like
interesting.
You know, it's got that. It's, I don't know, sort of giving that.
I
vibe.
hated that event. I hated that it was so late. I hated that it messed up my week, and that they didn't even bother to lean into it. Right? Like they had like one werewolf joke, and that was it. Like every single person should have been in fancy dress for that, like in costume.
Yeah. What was it even about?
M3 Max.
And there didn't really seem to be an actual reason for why they did
and
it.
And the M3, nobody cares about the M3, right?
No.
Because like people really love the M2 and people are looking forward to the M4, but like nobody cares about the M3.
Yeah, the M3 is kind of lost.
It's the chip that was kind of off the track, right? Like the process that the M3 is on will never be used again by TSMC. I think that's the case. So it's just like they did it because they wanted it, but like now we're going to go back on. They're still going to jump on the M4 train at some point.
Anyway, we have some excellent follow-up about something we said last week about plastic and coming from friend of the show, Dr. Drang. Just listen to another episode of Mike Was Right. The generic term for plastics that Federico was searching for is polymer. Polycarbonate is a type of polymer, as are how do you say this?
I don't know.
Polystyrene, polyethylene, and polypropylene.
Those are the three worst Pokemon names I've ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah, this is no, you're thinking of Poliwag. What's
Poliwhirl?
What are
Poliwrath? The great thing is Stephen didn't know that it's a great joke, but there actually are.
A great unintended joke. Well done.
Poliwag, Poliwhirl, Poliwrath.
You know I hang with Lickitung.
Lickitung.
There's also Politoad. Remember Politoad? Yeah, the green one. Yeah. Anyway, Doctor was saying not all polymers start with poly, but many do. Sadly, I don't know offhand what type of polymer was used in the Performa cases, but I feel certain that the information floating around. But I feel certain that information is floating around the internet. And in the thread, Alex Padilla said the original Macintosh had an ABS plastic case, according to a website. And if I had to make an uneducated guess, I'd say the Performas were probably ABS as well. To which the doctor replied, makes sense, a well-established material with good mechanical properties. So yeah, ABS, that's a type of plastic. And
ABS is very popular in mechanical keycaps. Keyboard keycaps. Love ABS.
There you go. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Drang.
The next one. So I was looking at this item in our notes last night as I was preparing for the show. This app that I don't know who put it in the document.
I did.
This app is changing my life.
Yeah.
In a way that like, it's making me feel like it's one of those rare moments these days when I am genuinely surprised by a new application on my phone. So, Stephen, what is it about?
Yeah, so we were talking about the how do I watch YouTube without getting sucked into the algorithm, right? And so listener Michael sent in an app that they wrote called Unwatched, and it uses RSS feeds because each YouTube channel has an RSS feed. YouTube makes it kind of difficult to find, but a lot of apps, if you like plug in the channel name, it'll just automatically kind of build, get the feed URL for you. So he combined RSS, an embedded video player, and a triaging system. And so you subscribe to playlists or channels, and they come in, and honestly, playing with it kind of reminds me of like a full-featured podcast client, right?
No, this is sick.
Yeah,
this is
awesome.
incredible. Sick. So I spent like an hour using this app last night. This app, so basically, I'm just gonna say these two magic words. It's Castro for YouTube.
Exactly.
This is what this app does. You follow your channels. There's a bunch of ways to. There's even like an import tool that uses the Google Takeout export to automatically. Yeah, you can do that. You can use your takeout file from google.com and import it into the app, and it's gonna sift through and get all your channels. Or you can search for those manually, which is what I did. And this app, like it really is a game changer in the sense that it just uses the same triage-based mentality of Castro. Like everything goes in the inbox, and then from the inbox, you can put them in your queue. And it lets you watch, this was very important for me, it lets you watch those episodes in full screen. Like it opens like a YouTube web player at the top of the screen, but that web player somehow, unlike other apps, it lets you switch to even 4K quality.
Yeah.
So you can do that. And the bottom half of the screen kind of looks like the now playing design of a podcast client, in the sense that it's got the same Castro inspired playback speed control. It lets you navigate chapters of a video. It lets you manage your queue from there. There's a sleep timer at the bottom. You can reopen the menu at any point. So if you want to jump to something else in your queue, you can do that without having to go to a separate page. And it even keeps track. I don't know how this developer did it, but it even keeps track of your progress while watching a video. So I'm watching this interview with Mark Zuckerberg, and it's like 20 minutes, and I only watched 7 minutes last night before falling asleep. And the app remembers this. The app knows that I gotta resume from there. And when I hit play on that player, it resumes from those 7 minutes. Like, the only thing about this app is like, there's a couple of things that I would like to see. I think it's very gesture based, like everything, every video you manage via swipe gestures. And I think there should probably also be context menus instead of just the swiping left and right. The other thing is that I just cannot explain to myself. I mean, it's pretty cool, but so this app is open source, totally free, without a way to give Michael money. Michael, listen to me. This app is incredible. Please put a donation thing in the app to let us give you money for this, because this, like, I'm not exaggerating. This app is going to be a game changer for me. It's on the iPhone. It's on the iPad. It syncs with iCloud. I have been looking for years for this sort of experience. Please let us give you money for your effort. This truly, at the moment, one of my favorite app debuts of the year.
And I'm assuming that if I sign in to YouTube in the app, I'm not going to get ads because I'm YouTube Premium, right?
I have not seen. I signed in via. I signed into the YouTube web view. I have not seen any ad. And also, if you sign in, that means when you go to a channel page, if you sign in, it's very easy to refollow the same channels in Unwatched, because you can just go to your subscriptions, click through the ones you want to add to the app. And something else that the app does that is very cool, it sort of overlays a plus button on top of those channel pages that allows you to add that channel back into the app. And of course, you can also view those videos by channel. So you can browse, it's not just the inbox and the queue. You can also browse all videos from a channel with a dedicated UI. And you can even set defaults for each channel. So, for example, if there's a if typically you watch videos at 1.3x, which is what I do, but there's a particular creator that talks very fast, and so I don't know, 1.3x, it's, you cannot do it. You can set a default speed per channel. You can also set a default placement, sort of like Castro. So you can do like, every single video from, I don't know, upgrade on YouTube, I want to immediately put it at the top of my queue. You can do that, like in a podcast client. It's seriously incredible, all the things this app does, and the fact that it's free on open source.
And I just was like, I added some stuff, and I was like, I don't want to see shorts. But you can hide shorts too.
Mm-hmm.
Like
you can,
because I don't need shorts in this list, right? This is going to be long form. This is so good. This is so good.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. It's
good.
It's already on the iPad.
This is good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, truly, truly wild. I was so surprised. I saw this in the notes last night. I was like, wait a second, because I've seen these YouTube RSS tools before. Like, and most of them, to be fair, they're kind of terrible. This one is the real deal. So, and it's based on the RSS feed. So it's not using like any private API for YouTube, or like YouTube shouldn't be upset that they're doing this, because the RSS feeds for the channels are a documented thing. So yeah, it's immediately went to my home screen. And finally, I was looking for a way to see videos from my favorite subscriptions without without all the clutter of the YouTube homepage. And this is perfect.
That's cool. Good work.
Ben wrote in with a similar app for Reddit called Winston. And so it is another open source app. It's a developer tool for developers to test their own Reddit API keys. But really what it is a Reddit client.
So, yeah, I wanted to use this. The problem is that the beta is full on TestFlight, so you cannot join. I tried, and it says beta is full.
10,000 TestFlight users, it says on the.
It's the maximum number of slots. Yeah.
So this is the Delta kind of idea, right? Is what they're doing here. I think. Like, here's a thing that kind of shouldn't exist, but we're doing it, and people will use it on TestFlight forever.
Yeah.
It's cool. It looks nice. It looks very nicely made. It looks really nicely made.
Yeah, it looks very like iOS native, sort of inspired by reminders with that navigation at the top of the page. Yeah, it looks very nice. But sadly, I cannot join the beta.
Bummer.
I also saw this recommendation by listener Lincoln. Also, a few people on Mastodon wrote in to say the same thing. If you disable your YouTube watch history, it also disables the front page algorithm that feeds your videos. Use the subscriptions page to view only those channels you've subscribed to. But I'm not sure I want to disable my watch history. That's the thing. Like, the watch history is convenient for me. Like, if I'm, I want to continue watching a video, it's a feature that I use all the time, especially via the YouTube app on my TV. It's very convenient to just go to the history and pick up where you left off with the video that I was watching on the phone. So I don't want to give that up, but I feel like with Unwatched and the official YouTube app still installed for search and the occasional browsing of the homepage, I think I'm pretty much set. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I find the history stuff useful, and yes, the algorithm can be a pain. But and I didn't even say this on the episode, but like, I basically just go to my subscription box on YouTube. I very rarely will go to see what it suggests. Very rarely will follow the things in the side. But I have installed and set up Unwatched. And my only feedback from Michael too is like, I would love for you to officially bless the Mac, because the iPad app runs, but it basically crashes no matter what I tried to do. So, Mac client, please.
Yeah, I mean, if you're making feature requests, obviously, iOS 18 support for icon colors, icon tinting,
Yes.
maybe a control center control to, I don't know, open a specific channel or open a random video from your queue or something like that, iOS 18 support. But also, but really, Michael, let me give you money. Let us give you money for this.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
So in my weekly celebration of Performer Month, where I go through Steven's articles, all I'm really looking for is what I found today, which is it appears like you bought another one.
It's the last one. I think 4 total.
You bought 4, so you have bought 1 a week, which I think is what I said you would do.
Well, it's 1 a week as the articles come out. The purchases are all very close together. But
yeah. That's semantics. Like, just because you bought them all in 1 week.
Actually, may make it worse.
I didn't buy 1 a week. I bought 4 in 1 week.
4 in 1 week.
Who's laughing now?
Yep. Performer Month marches
looks like
on.
A pizza box.
It marches on. We got a PowerPC transition. We got all-in-ones. All sorts of stuff.
We've got 1 week left.
Well, yeah. It will end. The last post will go up on the 27th because Wednesday the 28th we have something else exciting to do.
Okay. So then the long national nightmare is over.
The month-long holiday will unfortunately wind down.
Right. You created your own spending event, like a Black Friday.
Beige August.
Yeah, I guess.
It doesn't have the same ring to it, really.
I hate it. Relay has turned 10. We did it. We're now over 10 years old as a company. Congratulations, everyone. Which also means this podcast is now over 10 years old. Don't forget that, which is a wild thing to consider. We spoke a bit a month ago about our 10th anniversary show. During that week, friend of the show, Ian, was in town and he was making a video about the live show. But what ended up kind of happening is the video turned into a celebration of Relay and by the people involved. So Ian spent some time talking to all of the hosts that were there. He also interviewed me and Steven. He has a second video coming out the end of this week, which is like a 2-hour interview that we did with him. But this video, it's called 10, and it is just beautiful. It's 15 minutes long. I've watched it 3 times. I've cried every time. I love it so much. It's so perfect and is so incredible to see all of the people that we work with all give very similar answers about like what Relay means to them. It's so beautiful. And I really hope that that you take some time to watch it because I don't think you'll regret it. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, it really is. And it made it, I didn't send it, but it made it into like a family text thread. So like I had people talking about it. Yeah, really awesome.
It's funny. I sent it directly to my family chat.
yeah, I did not.
Watch this, suckers.
Yeah. So there's that. And then you and I did our traditional annual Q&A. That's in the departures feed, as well as the crossover feed if you're a member. So go check that out.
Yeah. Go check it out. And happy anniversary birthday. Yeah. Here's the thing. I get struggled with is it an anniversary or is it a birthday?
I think it's an anniversary because we have matching tattoos, but
wouldn't the 10th anniversary be? Well, isn't a birthday just for like people? Like, would you say to a person happy 36th anniversary on the day of their birth?
No.
Well, okay, but like our anniversaries and birthdays, the same thing. So like, yeah, it is, right? Like, because it's all +1.
It's all +1. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't
so anniversary.
You celebrate your first anniversary 12 months into your thing, just like your birthday,
which is the same as a birthday.
Yes.
All right, cool. I get confused with that sometimes. There's some things so it's like inaugural and I don't know, like annual,
first annual.
Yeah,
totally fine to use all the time, Jason. Totally fine.
First annual. Well, it's fine when you commit, which I did, right? Yes. So like you can say first annual if you know you're doing another one, but that's the only time that you can ever do it. And I did it, and we've done like 10 upgrades now. So I was right to call it the first annual. All right, so I like anniversary because, birthday would imply that it was a living thing, which is interesting to consider.
And we're now done talking about the anniversary. We will be back next year.
We probably won't focus on it so much. I feel like we got to focus on them less now.
Yeah, agreed. This episode of Connected is brought to you by NetSuite. Quick math. The less money you spend on operations, multiple systems, or delivering your product or service, the more margin your business has and the more money you get to keep. But with higher expenses on things like materials, employees, distribution, and borrowing, everything costs more. So to reduce costs and headaches, smart businesses are graduating to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one platform and one source of truth. With NetSuite, you reduce IT cost because it lives in the cloud with no hardware required, so it's accessed from anywhere. You cut the cost of maintaining multiple systems because you've got one unified business management suite. You improve efficiency by bringing all your major business processes into one platform, slashing manual tasks and errors. Over 37,000 companies have already made the move, so do the math and see how you'll profit with NetSuite. It's important to find ways to cut costs and boost business performance as we all battle higher expenses. I know it firsthand as a small business owner myself. And by popular demand, NetSuite has extended its one-of-a-kind flexible financing program for a few more weeks. Just head to netsuite.com/connected. That's NETSUITE. netsuite.com/connected. Our thanks to NetSuite for their support of the show and all of Relay.
Are you boys excited for a brown iPhone?
You know what? I'm committing to it now. If this brown iPhone is real, it will be the phone I buy this year.
Okay.
I'm begging you to do it. Yes.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
It's not going to look like that image, right? So there's an image that's on 9 to 5 Mac.
I really hope not.
I need to reopen this image. I need to look at it again.
Sonny Dixon has a very good track record of this stuff. And so that's why you would post their images. But these images, they are indications of color. And I actually think there is a MacRumors article where they have kind of rendered what this color could look like with a name that I also don't think is correct, which is called Desert Titanium, which doesn't make any sense to me.
I love it.
I think that is, Jason made the joke quickly on Upgrade, but do you remember iPhone Math? You remember that one?
Yeah, it was the Plus, Math. Right?
Yeah. So I think that the Desert Titanium, I can only assume is an error because that just doesn't make any sense. Like there isn't like titanium in the desert, right? Like anyway.
Can you know for sure though? Like
you know what? No, I
desert?
Actually can't know for sure. That's a really good point. The render that MacRumors have put together, I expect is more what this color is going to look like, where it is kind of like a bronzy gold. And maybe that would be what I would go for, even though I really like natural. But yes, this looks brown. I would be very surprised if this was brown. And also, don't forget, this has happened before. Like brown iPhone has been a rumor before, but it didn't come to fruition.
Mike, do you think this is in honor of the 20th anniversary of the Dave Matthews Band bus incident?
Possibly. I'll put a link in the show notes.
Synergy, baby.
Oh, that is. That's good. That's good.
I mean, the color's weird, and I think it will be less weird than these renders show. The thing that worries me about the iPhone colors this year is the part of the report that the side rails are going to be shiny again.
Yeah.
I really like the matte look of the titanium.
Yeah.
And I'm
not excited about it.
I don't want to go back to shiny.
I don't want them.
No, I'm not excited about that. I mean, the phone might get grippier, which is, that is like, from a tactile perspective, good. But also, Stephen, why does it bother you? You put your phone in a case.
But I know it's in there.
Okay.
I've also realized, listening to Upgrade, when you're talking about how you've dropped your phone a couple of times, that for years I was the person on the podcast not using a case. And then finally my mini broken phones caught up with me, and I have been using a case for a while now. But That aside,
that reminds me, there was something I wanted to talk to you guys about. About my iPhone. So something I've realized is that there's a thing that I need to change in how I use my iPhone. So the display of my iPhone 15 Pro Max is really, really scratched. There's a lot of scratches. And I think this is happening not because I keep my phone in the same pocket as my keys. I don't do that. What happened is that over the past year, I have really made an effort to turn my phone face down when we are like with friends at restaurants. I've really made an effort to do it more often, and in doing that, I have scratched the screen more than before. So on one hand, these are like good scratches, because like it means that what I wanted to do, I've done it. But
Scratches
at the same time,
of honor, you could say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it like, man, though, like it's really scratched. And so this is problem number one. Problem number two, I really want Apple to make a nano texture iPhone, and I don't think they're gonna do it. This is something that I also noticed this year because I've spent a lot more time with my iPhone either at the beach or at the pool. And using an iPhone under direct, really hot sun in the summer, basically impossible. So I think the time has come for me to accept that I need to put a screen protector on my iPhone. And ideally, a matte one. I know. But I think I got to do it. I've never done
Does
before.
that exist?
I don't know.
Like, iPhone.
Which is why I'm mentioning it on the show. Is there a way for me to, have it
Bell
both
can
ways?
make one for the iPhone 13. Is that helpful?
No.
Is that helpful?
Backing, what are you doing? Backing, come on.
just slap it in the middle of your phone. This is close enough.
I don't
Can
know.
you
Let's see.
imagine? That'd be so good.
It's like it
They
almost,
also make one for
it
the
al-
iPhone 13 mini if you just have one very small part of your screen.
Oh,
I actually
just down in the corner.
do it. I do have a 13 mini that I keep around. That's like, you remember, guys, when I surprised you last year with the small iPhone?
Yes.
That I used as an iPod.
It was
things
the
you do,
Boops
Federico.
Palma of music. Is what that thing was.
It's yes. So I don't know. Yeah, I think I gotta use a screen protector for the next phone. I gotta do
I
it.
feel like if you do this, you have to get a glass one, right?
Oh yeah.
And you should get it put on at the Apple Store.
Oh yeah, I will not do it myself. Are you kidding? Every single time I try to put any sort of film or like protector on any device, it ended up with air bubbles underneath and with me removing it after 40 minutes. So yeah, I will not do it.
I put a screen protector on the over the like gauge cluster in my truck because it was pretty scratched up, and trying to hide it and keep it from getting any worse. And there's a bubble about the size of a dime in that thing, and it like I'm gonna have to take it off. Like I can't live this way.
Because the Apple stores have these like machines. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Even
these,
even
machines you put them on.
in Italy, I don't know if it's the same elsewhere. You can even get one applied at GameStop for some reason.
Yeah, I think like you can also like in the mall kiosks and stuff like that. Like people do it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find you one. I'm not having a lot of luck finding good.
There's this TikTok personality in Italy.
Okay.
This young woman. She became ultra popular here. So her thing on TikTok, and I don't remember the name. She was even on the national TV news like a couple of weeks ago. She applies screen protectors on phones in the videos. This is all she does. And,
wow. How do you get
she eventually
famous doing that?
Well, people watch those videos. She talks while applying the screen protector. She says a bunch of funny things and whatnot. She eventually came out with her own line of cases and screen protectors.
Yeah.
And and she does these meetups in like malls and I don't know.
This is incredible.
And thousands of people go there. It's wild. I'll find the link for you. Yeah.
It looks like people on Reddit like the Binks, BENKS, matte glass screen protector. BENKS. So that may be a brand to look into.
Why would you say Binks?
Banks? It's not Banks.
Banks. I mean, surely it's Banks, right?
Banks. I can't. Well, how does that word sound with an E in it?
Banks.
Banks. I can't. That's weird.
It just. This is one of those ones where if you said Banks and Banks, they both sound the same.
Yeah, I've thought
it's like Brad with pen and pin.
Pin
it's
and
just
pin.
all the same.
Yeah, we've made this joke in the last 10 years, I'm sure.
Pin.
There you go. I found you gotta have to translate this. She has 8 million followers on TikTok. I found a Cosmopolitan article that you can translate.
Incredible. I'm gonna put this in the show notes. Where are you sending this? I need to see it.
Yeah.
It's in Discord.
It's in Discord.
I'm gonna put this in the show notes. This is. I mean, I don't understand TikTok. Like I just.
Me neither. But obviously,
I don't get it. But I'm happy for this.
A lot of people do. Yeah.
Who is New Martina, the TikTok
That's
star
her name.
of smartphone movies? That's how it.
Smartphone
movies. Because it's is this Apple Translate?
Yeah. However, this is really weird. So that's how it's translated. When I added it to our CMS, it grabs the title from somewhere. I don't know. But in that, it says smartphone covers.
Yeah, I'll tell you why it translated movies. It's because we call the screen protector película, and which means film. So it translated película as films, therefore movies.
That's funny. Yeah, we would probably call it a film here too.
Yeah.
Because it's like so okay, so she now has her own brand, huh?
Yep.
Respect.
Yeah.
Respect that.
All creators eventually make products,
It is the trend because that's how it works.
You want to keep paying your bills.
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts have migrated to the web. So this is from John Voorhees on Mac Stories. Apple Podcasts got the full Apple Music treatment with its own web app today. You can find this at podcasts, plural.apple.com. Although if you're on a Mac like I am and you click that link, it opens the podcast app. So
I have not been able to. Oh, there we go. I finally got to it. I've been trying for days just to look at this on any of my devices, and it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it now, and this just looks like Apple Podcasts, but on the web.
It is the most typical Apple web experience that they've done since .Mac and Mobile Me. Like, let's make this look like an app. So this looks like iTunes in the browser. You know what? It doesn't need to. There's no reason that it should, but it does. And you get your library and top charts and channels and all that stuff there. I think one thing that's interesting about this is that it seems like not all of the, like if you have like our like Connected Pro, like that feed, I've heard from people that doesn't show up for them in the web view. And I didn't have any luck either. And so I don't know if like those private feeds they're not exposing to the web player, or that's like a temporary bug. I don't know.
Huh. I can imagine they wouldn't do that because then it's like might make it viewable on the web. I don't know. This is interesting though. I think it seems pretty clear to me why they've done this, and it's not for you to use it in your web browser. It's so they can like make Apple Podcasts available in other places. So cars, right? Like get it in your Rivian or whatever, stuff like that. I would expect. Like they just want to make sure they have like a more complete web experience because what is this for the PC? Like what is this for? Like now of all time, and I just feel like it's got to be tying into something because otherwise I don't know why they've done this.
I mean, it's like they put maps on the web too. I think those reasons could be similar. That was like what, a week or two ago.
Yeah. They're up to something. Maybe it's just somebody who works on the web team at Apple has just become really powerful, able to just do anything they want. Because it's an interesting prospect, right? That like, we have maps on the web, we have podcasts on the web. Like, it's weird now, really, to just do these things out of nowhere. Like, I feel like I don't understand the full thinking behind it. Like, I can make my theories, but I don't actually know
Well, what are your theories?
Well, that's it. That like it's to tie into other things.
Okay.
It's like how really like this is leaning to Apple TV, right? That you can get Apple TV on connected TV sets.
Yeah.
And so you would build a web view so you can more easily integrate into stuff like that. You know, you have all of the URLs, and I'm going to say a word that I don't fully understand what I'm going to say, the endpoints, so that you're able to tie into different things, maybe different interfaces that you don't control. And so I could imagine them having these things to integrate more, but like, are they actually going to do that? Like, I have no idea. But, you know, if you have all of the URLs and endpoints for maps and for podcasts, you could integrate into Tesla, into Rivian and stuff like that more easily, I would assume.
Maybe.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Tesla, I know, has Apple Podcast support. They've had that a while now, and I think Apple Music both. So yeah, I mean, maybe that is a conversation that is happening for sure, right? Like the continued dominance of CarPlay versus new car manufacturers or existing car manufacturers who want to do it themselves and then downgrade from CarPlay to just experiences in their own software. Downgrade is my own word. You may disagree with that. That's fine. But Apple is pretty late to the podcast on the web game, but they're here. And if you use Apple Podcasts, now you got it in one more place. So that's good. This episode of Connected is brought to you by our friends at Vitally. Vitally is bringing a new era of customer service productivity with their all-in-one platform. Its collaborative workspace combines your customer data with all the capabilities you expect from today's project management and work platforms. With Vitally, you can measure the effectiveness of OKRs and operational strategies on customer outcomes at scale, thanks to their Goals feature. See, Goals allows you to track the progress of your accounts against target metrics, meaning you can standardize goal setting across the board so you know exactly how effective your processes really are. And best of all, it's designed for today's customer success team. That's why Vitally operates with unparalleled efficiency, improves net revenue retention, and delivers best-in-class customer experiences. Vitally is currently offering a free pair of AirPods Pro for every connected listener who books a qualified meeting. So if you're a customer success decision maker, schedule a call by visiting vitally.io/connected. That's vitally.io/connected for a free pair of AirPods Pro when you schedule a qualified meeting. Our thanks to Vitally for their support of the show and Relay. Big news, Monument Valley 3 is on its way. I will admit, when I saw this headline, I was like, oh, Apple Arcade, is that it again? But no, it's not Apple Arcade. It's Netflix. So Netflix games will be the home of Monument Valley 3, as well as the first two apps. They will also be on Netflix. They have a trailer out, and this trailer took me right back. Like, I loved Monument Valley 1 and 2. I played them a lot. And when I saw this trailer, I was like, I want to go back to that time. I want to be playing this on my iPad, first iPad Air or whatever it was. So, yeah. And the protagonist is going to sail a boat, according to John's blog post, which is exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
On a boat, as the song says.
On a boat.
Indeed.
We have talked about this before, I think. There was also a Polygon article about this. Like, we need to take Netflix games seriously. I feel like they have their own catalog of like really silly mobile games based on their IP that are meant to keep you using Netflix and thinking about their TV shows and movies while you're waiting for the next season to start or whatever. But at the same time, it feels like there is a group within Netflix that has been courting indie developers, and they've been making incredible progress in licensing games that are the sort of games you hear being talked about for like Game of the Year nominations, right? Games that typically come out on Steam, indie games, the whole sort of indie PC gaming scene. Netflix has been signing those games. In addition to, the mobile spin-off of, I don't know, The Bachelor. I don't even know what is on Netflix. But,
like Too Hot to Handle. I'm on the
Too Hot to Handle, that type of stuff.
They also yesterday announced that they're making a Squid Games game, right? So they make games based on their properties, and that's what people think Netflix games is. But Netflix games is like the Apple Arcade they told you to worry about.
Yes. This is Apple Arcade is Netflix, and Mom, we have Apple Arcade at home. It is actually Apple Arcade, what you have at home. The thing is, this is what Apple Arcade should have been in many ways. It's a place for both the commercially popular game that maybe is not going to revolutionize mobile gaming, it's not going to win any award, but it makes easy money. And it's also the place for the more, I'm going to say this, please don't take it the wrong way, the more refined gamer who wants to play those indie titles from a particular artist, from, those more author-based games.
Like the auteur games. Like they have Immortality, which was a game from a few years ago. It was very, very popular.
And at the same, so the reason why I think is interesting is that Netflix has been doing this, while at the same time, just in 2024 alone, 2 reports have come out. One at the beginning of the year, and another just a couple of weeks ago, again, of game developers speaking to, I believe it was GameIndustry.biz, if I'm not mistaken, MobileGamer.biz, claiming that Apple Arcade is directionless, that payouts are not going out to developers, that Apple is not returning emails from developers part of the program, and that it's unclear exactly what Apple wants to do with Apple Arcade. And now, I feel like Netflix has recognized this lost opportunity for Apple Arcade, especially in the past couple of years, because I truly believe that Apple Arcade started on the right foot. What was it, 5-6 years ago at this point?
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe they had the right idea. And I don't know what is it that, I have, like Mike, I have my theories. And Steven, you're supposed to say, what are your theories? And
what are your theories?
Respond. Yes. So
thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Great question. I feel like, and we've said this on the show before, Apple never really understood gaming and likely never will, because they only see it as an accessory to their subscription sales. And I don't think at a high level, here's the problem, at a high level, I don't think they see gaming as really an art form or something that you need to nurture over time. And I'm sure there are people working at the gaming division at Apple listening to this and being upset because they do care. But what I'm saying is that maybe your managers don't, and maybe your managers' managers don't. And so you end up in this situation where Netflix is maybe, I'm sure this isn't, also Netflix is in this to make money. But in making money, they're also actually building a lineup of all types of games that can cater to the kind of person who just cares about Too Hot to Handle, the kind of person who wants to play GTA on their phone, and also the kind of person who listens to video game podcasts and wants to play, I don't know, Into the Breach or Layers Horizon or Monument Valley 3, like the more niche, more indie, experience. It's something that if you asked me 2 years ago, I would have never said this was going to happen. And Netflix is running with it. I think it's very fascinating to observe.
I have a question. I've never experienced Netflix gaming. Like, is it in an app? Is it on the web?
So this is the thing. Everybody doesn't understand this.
I don't know how it works.
This is at the Apple problem.
Yeah. So these games are individually available on the App Store.
Oh, come on.
As
Apple.
like separate. Yes. They are branded with Netflix Gaming.
No,
and you need...
Realistically, this is the only way you could do it, because otherwise
Yeah.
the Netflix app would be 17 terabytes.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
Right?
Or, and they're never going to do this, but like, or the Netflix in Europe could release a game store, but that's also only going to be in Europe.
I mean, I
now.
think on your phone, though, in the Netflix app, you can see a list of the games. So
You
like,
can.
it is
You
a
can.
thing that you can do. But like, here's the thing: Netflix do not do a good job telling you about this stuff. Like,
No.
so I have a couple of. I agree with most of the stuff you're saying, Federico. I have a couple of different things I want to just throw out there, right? One, I still think Apple has their ways of Apple Arcade where they know what they're doing, because they sign new games and interesting games. I think they just put Vampire Survivors right on Apple Arcade, which is also a game which is like a couple of years ago Game of the Year contender. So like, I think there are people that still understand it, and I think Apple Arcade goes in waves. Like, do you remember like there was nothing for a while, and then they were like, we're working with developers to remaster a bunch of the classic iPhone games, and we were like, yeah, like it was like great, right? And that was only a little while ago. I think they go in these like waves of their focus. I think that also Apple treat game developers the same as they treat all developers. Like, they're not interested in creating commercial partnerships. I think Netflix is maybe more, right? Like, to go to what you're saying about like they don't make art. Also, Netflix clearly have a push to do this, because when they started this, they believed that this would be good for their subscription revenue. A couple of months ago, it was brought up on an earnings call that Netflix Games is doing nothing for them right now, and it is purely losing money. That is a concern point, where like Netflix is going hard on this, but at some point they're probably just going to stop, same as Apple. But as the catalogs, Netflix's catalog is, in my opinion, superior. And it is what Apple Arcade should be. Apple Arcade should have all of these games. The fact that a new Monument Valley game is coming out and it's not an Apple Arcade is a significant failure on Apple's part.
Yeah.
Like, significant failure on their part. They should have this game. It's wild to me that Monument Valley 1 and 2 are going to be on Netflix when they're also on Apple Arcade. So I think that shows that the deals that were done for the remasters were different to the deals that we'd heard about from the original. Because originally, with Apple Arcade, you couldn't be on any other subscription service that was on mobile.
Yeah, they were exclusive.
So clearly the whatever plus games that they came out with, they have different terms. They must have different terms. My other thing is, these reports that come out are interesting, but I always have this thing of like, are these just people that Apple don't want? Like, I don't know if this is like indicative of all Apple Arcade experiences, Because like we've heard this type of thing before, and it's, people get upset maybe that Apple doesn't want their game anymore, or that game didn't do well for Apple. Because there was a report a long time ago that like Apple was moving to games that grab your attention. Do you remember that? Like that they were moving to like attention games, and we were like, oh no! But then they remastered Monument Valley and Ridiculous Fishing, so it's like, so maybe it wasn't the full story. But I have a lot of thoughts on this, and that was all of them.
Federico, I heard you're moving.
Yeah, moving back to Italy.
Congratulations!
Congrats!
It's not like I never left. I've made a decision, and I've been thinking about this for the past couple of weeks, but I am slowly gonna move from my App Store. It's just, people get confused when I say Apple ID, just my App Store account from US to Italy. Really for a bunch of administrative reasons. It was becoming a problem. I've been using this US App Store account. It's not my iCloud. My iCloud has always been in Italy. But this App Store account I've been using since 2008, I believe. It's got 16 years of history. The first apps I downloaded on the iPhone 3GS, I think, or 3G, were with that account. But there's, over the past couple of years, especially as I started using family sharing with the family, we have run into so many situations where the problem was not anymore US App Store exclusivity for certain apps, but Italian specific apps. I started using the US App Store back in the day for the opposite reason. When I started Mac Stories, it used to be pretty common practice for certain apps to only be available in the US. You remember like Mailbox, for example. I believe for a while, initially it was like US only with a Q. Like it was very common back in the day, back in the early App Store days, to see US only releases. Over time, or the past, I mean, it's been a long time, 16 years, and things have changed to the point where now apps are usually global, and because Italy is a small country, it's much more common for me to run into an app that is only available on the Italian App Store. Like so many times over the past few years, I've gone to a restaurant and the restaurant had an app, or like a beach resort had an app, and I clicked on the link and it was not available on the US App Store. And so I really got tired of having this problem over the years. And it's not just me, but also Silvia, my mom. We're all part of the same family sharing group. And every single time I would have to do the whole dance of like switch out of the US App Store, log in with the secondary Italian Apple ID, download the app you need, and then switch back out again. So yeah, that was the primary motivation for like doing this. But I want to clarify, I am not migrating that App Store account. I am keeping the US App Store account for historical reasons and also for the occasional app that I still need from the US App Store. Like, I don't know, some TV networks app that I need that is not available in Italy. This means, of course, a couple of things. That I had to cancel all of my App Store subscriptions. I had to sign up again for the apps that I want to use using the Italian App Store account. It means that I had to re-sign up and ask developers over the past week to re-add me to their test flight betas with the Italian email that I'm using. The Italian, not email, like the different email for the Italian App Store account that I'm using. It also means that now my iPhone is officially European.
And can I just check? You've had to buy apps again too, right? Like any apps?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was just checking. I wasn't sure if you'd found some kind of.
So developers. I'm just out here supporting you twice.
Apple's getting 60%. You know.
Yeah. You know. The iPhone is now always European. So because now I'm not in that weird scenario where I'm in Italy, but also using a US App Store account. Therefore, I cannot install third-party marketplaces. Now I can do whatever I want. The Epic Game Store came out, Fortnite came out. I could just install it because now my phone is always European. By the same token, the phone is always European. So even if I'm on 18.1 with the phone set to US English, I cannot use Apple Intelligence anymore. Not that I particularly care about it, because I was basically never using it. But that's something that happened. Yeah.
Yet. Right?
It'll come.
There's still stuff to come, and like there's going to be different things they're going to add, but like so far you didn't really find it interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to take a while. And the way I've been doing this, very simple strategy, really. Once a day or every couple of days, I check for updates via the on the App Store. I have always had automatic updates disabled on my phone.
I mean, they don't really work anyways.
They don't really work anyways, and this is something that I used to do back in the day. Check for updates, see if there's anything new. It's something that I still do on a regular basis, and so whenever I see an update, what I do is, if I know that app is still coming from the old App Store account, I delete the app from the update screen and I immediately re-download it from the search page. So like I'm doing this in like batches of I don't know, 3 or 4 apps, and it's much more manageable.
You can still like that. You said that the US apps that you want to keep, you would just like when you do the update, you just have to put your old password in, right? And then you can update those.
Yeah, I think you got to do the first time, and then iOS actually remembers that, so it's not even a huge problem.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
can still keep the stuff that you want to keep, but you're moving.
Yeah. Like Paramount Plus, for example, which I'm paying for at the moment via the US account. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that I'm keeping. What was that? Paramount Plus and something else that I'm keeping. Yeah, that's it's easy enough to do, and it's gonna take a while. Obviously in the process, you also lose your Apple Music library, but yeah, there's tools to migrate that, using the Mac. So I'll get to it eventually. Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it really highlights how complicated the Apple account system is. Like
It
I'm
doesn't need
in
to
the
be this way.
yeah, I'm in the boat of a lot of people. Like I have sort of a classic Apple ID for purchasing, right? And it's now in my shared family thing, but a bunch of purchases are tied to that. And it's like I don't know what to do about that. Like it's just going to be that way forever, right? I still sign in for media and purchases as that old Apple ID, and maybe I could do it another way, but I'm so afraid of breaking everything. It's like I just leave it alone, and maybe one day it'll make more sense.
It's just like they should just let you like once every 2 years just move it. Because people that move country, this is something that they have to do, and then they just lose everything. And it's
you can switch the country from one to another.
But if you like switch banks and stuff, right? That you're like, all right, I've moved now, so I don't want an American bank account anymore. I want a British bank account. What you have to do is create a new Apple ID, which is like wild to me. Like they should just let you do a little transfer and just like move all the licenses over. They own it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like especially the apps. Like I understand TV and music, fine, whatever, right? Like that's more complicated. But like the app stuff, just let people move it, Just let move it. I don't know. What do I know?
This episode of Connected is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Using the internet without ExpressVPN is a bit like forgetting to mute yourself on Zoom. Then every other person on every team in your company hears you listening to your favorite podcast instead of paying attention. Because all your traffic flows to their servers, internet service providers, including mobile network providers, know every single website you visit. And in the US, ISPs are legally allowed to sell that information to advertisers. ExpressVPN reroutes your traffic through secure encrypted servers, so your ISP can't see your browsing history. And there's loads of reasons to choose ExpressVPN. It hides your IP address, making tracking extremely difficult. It's easy to use. You just fire up the app and click a button to get protected. It works on all your devices, phones, laptops, and more, so you can stay private on the go. And it's rated #1 by top tech reviewers like the folks at CNET and The Verge. My reason is that it's really fast. Using ExpressVPN doesn't slow down my browsing or my streaming. Protect your online privacy today by visiting expressvpn.com/connected, and you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. That's expressvpn.com/connected. Our thanks to ExpressVPN for the support of the show. It seems like iOS 18 Beta 7 could be the final beta or getting close to a release candidate. Maybe it is the release candidate. Nobody knows. But it seemed like a good time to do, maybe for the last time, iOS 18 Beta vibe check. So we've all been running it for a while. And Federico, how's it going?
I'm actually started writing my iOS 18 review, so that's this has been on my mind, sort of like collecting all my thoughts. Finally, I briefly tried Apple Intelligence before switching App Store accounts. I continue to be in my notes I had repulsed as a word. Maybe that's too strong. I really did not like the writing tools feature. I know, and this is not like it is a principle thing, but it's not even just a principle thing. I am never ever going to use writing tools or the image stuff whenever it comes out. It really it does repulse me, I guess. Yeah. Just the idea of like letting this thing change my output or make images for me. Well, Control Center is great. Possibly my favorite feature of iOS 18.
It's pretty
good. Really like the fact it's pretty good. However, rearranging those tiles, those buttons, is like somehow they have managed to make that dragging around worse than the home screen.
Yes.
Like they have had 17 years to get the home screen to a semi-functional state. And it's like they didn't learn anything with rearranging Control Center. Good luck rearranging Control Center in iOS 18.
Maybe they're like, oh, well, we gave you free placement on the home screen, so we're going to make it tough somewhere.
But at what cost?
we can't make it like easy everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding?
You gotta work for it somewhere.
There's a fun thing where sometimes the control you're moving just disappears, and sometimes it's spawned onto a new Control Center page. But sometimes it just disappears, and then when you exit the editing, it just appears somewhere and has like pushed everything else out of the way. It's super weird. And I'm on 18.1 on my Carry phone, so I haven't played with 18.0 beta 7 that much yet. But it's weird. But I agree with you. Like the Control Center stuff is surprisingly interesting, and we'll have a link to a screenshot in the show notes. I built a HomeKit page with like my most used scenes and accessories, and I love it. It is like my favorite way and the fastest way to interact with HomeKit stuff now. And it took a while. I think I texted you. I was like, 22 hours later, this is finished, because things kept moving around. But it's really compelling, and I'm excited to see what third-party developers will do with it.
And I love that when you create like your HomeKit page, you can just like put as many single widgets or a big widget, or like what you can have Apple choose for you, or you can set it up manually or whatever. The iOS kind of denotes that as the little HomeKit icon and the little selector on the side. I just think that's a really nice touch. Like I could have imagined a scenario where it's like, if you use the one we made for you, it will be like this. But if you make your own one, it's just going to get that little dot or whatever. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I like it a lot.
So someone in the Discord said, apparently the screen mirroring button just keeps multiplying. I didn't have it. Now, then there were one, and now there are two.
I had 4. I had 4 this morning. Yes,
it's mirroring. It's still what it's supposed to do.
I was thinking with this multi-page Control Center. This is something that I will explore in my review. Like, it's not the first time Apple has tried the multi-page Control Center. Last time it was back in the days of iOS 10. This is obviously different. I was thinking, because it's you move vertically between pages, right? And it's nice in that if you swipe down from the top right, and if you keep swiping, you can immediately go to one of the secondary pages. Wouldn't it be nice if that? It's probably never gonna happen, right? But that new physical button that they're adding to the iPhone this year, wouldn't it be nice if you could also like swipe on that button? To quickly open Control Center.
Like it's always a good thing on Android phones that had the like the fingerprint sensor in the button. You can swipe it up and down. Something that's weird to me, I would love that. Something that's weird to me is you can't rearrange the pages, right? But you can.
No, you can. Yeah.
But you can delete them and recreate them in any order that you want to. Which is really like a really weird detail. It's like no, you can't drag the HomeKit one above the telecommunications one, but what you can do is delete the telecommunications one and then just make another one. And so it's like, if you're at like 5 pages deep and you decide you want to change them around, well, start again, son. Have a good time.
I do wish, I cannot believe I'm going to say this. Do you remember the feature, I don't think it ever went anywhere, where you could like share your Apple Watch face with somebody?
It's going to be big on social.
So
yes,
I kind of want that for Control Center. So I could like, hey, look what I built, and here are the apps I'm using. But also like, I would like just to send Mary my HomeKit control center page because it's all the stuff in our house, and I think she would find it useful.
And also, I mean, if you have more than one device.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
or
on my iPad, I need to.
Yeah.
On my iPad, I need to redo the whole thing.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. So I will probably build her one, when she's on iOS 18 some point this fall. But syncing or sharing or something feels like a good next step in this this area.
It's like whenever I see stuff like this, I'm reminded about how the Apple TV syncs all your apps.
I know, right?
It's just like, why?
So nice.
Why is that only on the Apple TV?
I don't know.
Let me do it in other places.
I don't know. I still don't like the tinted icons, and it's not just that I dislike the tinting. Although, like, it seems very difficult to come up with something that looks good. Maybe I'm not enough of an artist to do it. What I dislike is that you cannot do the tinting on a per icon basis.
Yeah.
Like it's the whole affair all at once. And I would have preferred to do like, in this corner of the screen, I'm going to do my pink icons. And in this other corner, I'm going to do my green ones. Like it's all or nothing. And that I don't like. I don't know what happened with the Safari menu. The new
it's weird.
So they have on the iPhone. I believe it's the same on the iPad and possibly even worse on the Mac. John was telling me. So they have this new menu button that now contains both like some top level options, like content blockers and translations, and some extensions. But then if you like, there's multiple layers of like, there's another sub menu called the page menu that has a lot more options. And it's like, I get what they're doing. Like they have a single menu with like the most frequently used options and then everything else in a secondary screen. But I don't know. It looks confusing. And I think what's not helping is that, especially the page menu, everything looks the same because it's like a giant list view, like a plain table view of like dozens of options on the same page with these monochrome icons. It feels like I can never find what I'm looking for in this Safari menu now. It's very difficult to visually parse, sort of like the share sheet, like the bottom of the share sheet. Everything is black and white, and it feels like I'm reading these labels for several seconds before finding what I'm looking for. I love the Photos app. I think, as we've spoken about this before, the new design is really working for me, even though they have sort of walked back some of their initial changes. I keep saying, like, I still think the carousel was a good idea that they have removed. It's the separation of recent days and the people and pets, the pin collections, the customization, everything is really working for me here. And I think it's at least for me personally, and the way I use Photos, it's a very successful redesign in terms of like, I can still browse my library, but also I can tweak it to my own liking, and I can browse by days, and I can get highlights from like trips and memories more easily than before. I think they've done a good job. And lastly, in my list of thoughts, much love to notes and reminders. I feel like those teams at Apple keep, like, notes and reminders are like the kind of Apple that I like to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of Apple Intelligence. If I could, I would put these people in charge, like Notes is getting a bunch of really good features this year, like collapsible sections, text highlights, a way to turn plain URLs into rich links, math notes, voice recordings, call transcriptions. Like, it's an incredible tool. And obviously reminders, it's getting like the subtasks that you can see in every list, and just the ease of capture of reminders and the real-time sync of reminders on every Apple device. It's still unmatched by other task managers. And so, yeah, just much love in general to notes and reminders. Every year they keep getting better. And so, yeah.
Weren't you just using things like 5
I
seconds
switched
ago?
back to no. So it was 3 months ago in June, and things broke in the first iOS 18 beta. Like all my shortcuts were not working. And so I was like, well, I need a task manager. I'm going to use reminders, and I'm going to switch back to things eventually. And then I started using reminders again. I was like, well, actually, this is pretty good. So the transition happened because of a bug, and then I stayed because I liked it.
There you go.
But I basically set it up like things. Like all my shortcuts, I swapped the things actions with the reminders ones, and I'm still using the same setup, just in a different app that has a much better Siri integration because, first party advantage, whatever. Yeah.
The EU is going to come for your task manager. Look out.
Eventually. Yes.
What about you, Mike?
I mean, a lot of my thoughts don't massively diverge from Federico. Like the eye content thing it's just not for me, and that's fine, but it's just not for me. I think it's great that the home screen placement thing exists, but it is at the moment as I thought. I don't have it on my phone. I'm only using it on my iPad, and I think it's going to be the same thing on my phone, though. I don't currently have a desire to move, like to have space on my home screens, but like maybe that will change in the future, and it will be great when I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And Control Center I like, Photos I really like. The only thing that I wanted to add is just I think that emoji tapbacks are great, and the text effects are good fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun to have just one word in your message, be bubbly or zoom in and out. I think those are all nicely done. It does make me wish Apple would revisit the full screen effects because those have been unchanged for about 100 years now. Maybe next year. I talked about Control Center, digging that. I have embraced light mode in the day, dark mode at night lifestyle.
Why?
I've been basically all dark mode on my iPhone since it came out, and I don't like dark mode anywhere else, just on the phone. But I've switched to this at some point and really like it. And I've embraced automatic icons. So light mode icons during the day, dark mode icons and widgets at night. Not all apps support this yet, right? So like some of my apps are like blindingly bright, but they'll get there, right? It's still in beta, and I'm not on test flights for everything I use. So one day that will happen. I'm using the small mode. I really tried large mode for several weeks, and I like that it doesn't show the text labels, but the size is just too big for me, and they're too close together. Something about it just feels a bit cramped for my liking on the phone. I will say on the iPad, I like the icons bigger. I think that makes sense there. But I agree with you on the tinting. The tinting is weird. I think it's really hard to get something that looks nice. But the thing that turns me off is exactly the same as you, Federico, is I can't find anything. Like everything looks the same. And so it is no tinting over here. Do we generally think this is ready for release? I mean, if these rumors are right, this is about done.
Yeah, I think it is ready. I think it's going to be... how do you explain, I guess, iOS? How do you sum up iOS 18 to people in your real life?
You can tint the home screen and put apps wherever you want.
Tint the home screen, put apps wherever you want. Control Center you can customize. I think that this is how I would sum it up.
Which is perfectly fine.
Have an overly ambitious animation when you turn the flashlight on your phone. That's the thing most people will notice. Is that?
Oh, that is so unnecessary.
But it's sick.
I haven't seen it yet. Like on my own phone.
It's wild. You need to install the beta just for that.
Yeah, it's just it's simulating this cone of light in the dynamic island. It's like, this is so unnecessary, but like, oh, now I feel like I'm an explorer, into a dark cave with my iPhone flashlight. I feel so fancy, and it's just yeah.
I think it generally feels ready. I mean, I think there are still some bugs to work out here and there, but 18.0 is not, it's not the one, right? It's not the feature release that 18.1 will be, at least in places that have Apple Intelligence. And so I don't know how long 18.0 will be in the world as it is. All right, we've talked a lot about this. We're not clear how long this will be around before 18.1 is ready. So we don't know, but it's the biggest example I think we've had yet of not everything is available on day one. And that does put a bit of a damper on things, like you said, talking about your review. Like, there's just not a lot here. But I think what is there in terms of customization, people are really going to dig, and they'll, find the other stuff over time.
I mean, like, just stuff like the mail sorting is not. There's so much stuff that is not there. That is not Apple Intelligence. Just like stuff.
The sorting is Apple Intelligence.
No, it isn't.
No.
Priority is, but that's just machine learning. It's not Apple Intelligence.
This term, they tied it in the keynote, I think, to Apple Intelligence. Like, it's not in the 18.1 beta either, so it's down the road.
Yeah, but I don't think it is. Like, I know what you're saying. I'm going to check it right now, but I don't believe
it. Also doesn't matter because all Apple Intelligence is just a brand name over a bunch of features that aren't really related. And I can tell you that one in particular, I will never enable. Like, I'd never want a mail application to sort my messages for me. But I got same box for that.
Mail is not the mail sorting is not part of Apple Intelligence.
Okay, well, it's not even in 0.1, so who knows when that'll show up.
Exactly.
This episode of Connected is made possible by KRCS, one of the oldest Apple premium resellers, and you're a one-stop shop for all things Apple in the UK. For our UK listeners right now at KRCS, you can get 0% interest on any Mac over £1,000 for 12 months. That means you can buy the latest M3 MacBook Air for just £76 per month. Or you can make your Mac truly yours and have the exact spec you want with pricing you won't find anywhere else. Or choose from popular models in stock. And again, as long as it's over £1,000, it'll qualify for 12 months interest-free credit. With free next working day delivery on in-stock items ordered before 3 p.m., there's never been a better time to get a Mac at KRCS, your local Apple experts. Get more information at krcs.co.uk/podcast or click the link in the show notes. 18 plus only, subject to approval, terms and conditions apply. Please spend responsibly. Borrowing money beyond your means could seriously affect your financial status. Ensure you can afford to make your repayments on time by the due date. Once again, go to krcs.co.uk/podcast and get free next working day delivery on in-stock items ordered before 3 p.m. Our thanks to KRCS for their support of the show and all of Relay.
Last week we spoke about Apple and Patreon. I thought we had a good discussion. I was very happy with it on reflection. I think we did a good job of expressing our thoughts and feelings. A friend of the show, Matt Birchler, wrote an article asking if we're in the slow decline of the Apple cult. Now, for people who've not been around as long as the three of us, you may say cult, that's a bit strong. The idea of the cult of Mac, which is a website, but first it was a book, I think. Was a book first? Anyway, but they're around the same sort of time. But that back in the day was very much that, like, people who really loved the Mac were almost cult-like, with Steve Jobs as our leader, where it was just in essence of like, this is a machine that had a smaller audience, and especially at certain points didn't even look like it was going to survive. But the people that loved the Mac, they really loved the Mac, and they wanted to let you know about it. And the book, The Cult of Mac, features like an entire section about the tattoos that people have. This is just the term that was used at the time, but I think is an interesting framing for what Matt is talking about. The idea that, like, we're in this scenario now where the people that love Apple the most, us and the people listening to this show and people that we're all interacting with and following online, are struggling to deal with their problematic fave, which is Apple. Now, I'll read a couple of quotes from Matt's article. Over the past 20 years, Apple has grown immensely. At first, it was fun and exciting to see the company that had been struggling finally showing everyone that they were legit. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being as fun. Record revenues and profits felt like a form of validation for us all for a while, but today they feel less like something to cheer about. Apple continues to make decisions that puts it at odds with the community that used to tirelessly advocate for them. And Federico linked to this on Mac Stories and referenced what we were talking about in the last episode, and the kind of phrase that you were using was the two apples. And it was what we were saying about, like, you have this company, they make these great products and we love to use them and they're really good and like the best in class, and we could never imagine using something else, like when we were talking about the Pixel Fold, for example. But then at the same time, they're also this increasingly corporate company who seem to be incredibly difficult to work with and want the money all the time. Like that, and that's and that can become complicated.
Money.
Yeah, money.
Yeah, I feel like so this idea of it used to be fun to root for Apple, root for the underdog. It's not as fun anymore when it's a multi-trillion-dollar company. I think a pretty easy way to understand it is ask yourself this question: do you see as many cars with an Apple sticker on them these days?
This article draws a line between that and how much money Apple makes. And that's the wrong line to draw, I think.
I disagree with that. I think there's rightfully a natural distaste for billionaires, let alone trillionaires.
Well, sure. I mean, I'm not saying that, but this is what, when I read this article, this is what I thought of. Again, just my opinion. Yeah, you don't see stickers on car. You don't see stickers on Apple cars because they never made the Apple car. You don't see Apple stickers on cars. You don't see the T-shirts. Like, there was a time, right, where being a Mac user, because it was before the iPod and iPhone, was weird, and you were like in a weird little group. And then Steve Jobs came back, and people were fans, and we saw the rise of Apple with the iPod and then the iPhone. And while I don't disagree with what you said, and I don't necessarily agree completely with what he wrote, I think the bigger issue is not how much money Apple makes, but it's how some of that money was made and how they behave because they have that money on their side. That, I think, is the more interesting conclusion. Like the chart of they make this much more money, and like he labeled the subhead "the turn," like that's only part of it. And when I think about like the feelings that the Apple fans used to have versus what they have now, I don't think that many people are actually upset that they've got, whatever it is, $150 trillion in cash. It's the how that money was scraped from 30% of all Patreon users, and that they use it to crush smaller companies.
I think he's saying that, and I'm sure if he was here right now, he would make that argument, because like he make like references specifically like developers and Patreon like, later on in the article. Like, I see what you mean. Like, you could bristle at the thing of like the issue isn't that they have the money, but I think that he draws the same conclusion that you've gotten to, Stephen, which is that like it's the way in which the money is made, which is the problem that a lot of people have, because it is the problem that we increasingly have.
I think Matt is saying that, and I think I agree with Simon. Like that is the more interesting story for sure. And I mean, if you ask me, and this is gonna sound totally uncool for all those who think you run a company, it's all profit based. Like, if it were up to me, a company that makes this much money for hardware, like they should run the App Store for free. If you ask me what I think, like it should totally be free and open, because you make so much money out of your services and your hardware. Like, just run the App Store for free.
Yeah.
Like this is what I think, and probably is my more socialist European point of view.
I mean, your phone moved to Europe. You're all there.
Yeah. So I think it's not just the money, is the fact that you are now the biggest tech company in the world, or one of the biggest, and how you behave with the money, And it's the thing is, it feels like these days with some of these decisions, taking the money out of Patreon. I just saw, Twitch is also raising their subscription prices, likely to, also deal with this 30% that they're still getting out of all these companies and developers. Like, it almost feels like, at what point does it feels like you're punching down?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people just stop at the money. Like, oh, they have all this cash, so they're not the underdog. And the irony of that is that Apple learned lessons for when they were on the ropes, right? 90 days away from bankruptcy, like the whole legend, right? Mm-hmm. And the problem is they haven't unlearned those lessons, or they haven't learned new ones in the years since. And Apple, like, what's so gross about it is that Apple still behaves like it's got to scramble for every last dollar the way that they did have to do back in the day, 30 years ago. And there's something about that it's particularly unsettling as someone who has followed them for a long time. But the other part that's unsettling about this is that there are people who get really wrapped around the axle trying to defend the Apple of today like they are the Apple of 30 years ago. Right? Like, well, yes, of course they're should take this money or that money because of X or Y reason. And Federico, like, you said it perfectly, and I don't disagree. Like, you know what? There's a case to be made that they should not take any money from the App Store. Take credit card processing fees and then move on. Take 3% and move on, right? Totally fair, totally fine. And that's the part that kind of weirds me out. And again, like the cult term, it is what it is. It's a weird word, lots of baggage. I understand that. But when I see folks who are like trying to defend really the indefensible, that's where I struggle to keep up and follow along. And like, yeah, my feelings about this company have changed greatly over the 16 years I've been covering them. And if you find yourself in the position where you instinctively defend any company or any brand, then like maybe it is time to take a step back and look around and see if where things are today match where they were the last time you looked up and looked around.
Yeah. At the same time, here's the thing that I think makes this this discussion fascinating and interesting. At the same time, I still really, almost fundamentally, really like what this company makes.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, like
they make the best computer and phones in the world.
They really do. They make the best earbuds. They make the best tablet. The software. I mean, it's a iOS, and I mean, for all its problems, iPadOS. It's still they're both still so pleasant to use, and they're tasteful, and they have taste. They have visual and functional taste. So how, I guess the question becomes, how do you reconcile for the same company feeling about certain things a certain way and for other things being a fan? Can you separate those two? Should you? And I feel like it's fine as long as you're mindful of what's happening, and as long as you're making an informed decision. Like, for example, this whole story and and it's been a process, right? It's been ongoing for years. And even if you just start counting at when the DMA stuff began, like for several months, this has been ongoing. But one of the consequences for me personally, for me specifically, has been that this whole saga has put a bad taste in my mouth for Apple services, just their services. So my informed decision will be that whenever I can, I'm going to prefer using something like Spotify, or using, signing up for Apple TV Plus only when I really just want to watch something, That's, for me, has been one of the consequences. But at the same time, I'm going to use those services from other companies on an iPhone because I still prefer it, because I like iOS. And this has been like, for me, I've been covering this stuff for more than 15 years. This is a massive change. Like, treating the iPhone as like just the platform instead of like the whole package, like, oh, it's just all Apple stuff, all in, all the way. It's like, no, it's the best phone for me. It's a great phone, but it doesn't mean that I am necessarily locked into the whole Apple ecosystem for services.
Sure.
Because I don't like what this company is doing for services, and I dislike this idea of giving them even more of my money while they're also taking money out of developers and creators. Like, I really dislike that.
And I think that's a healthy approach, right? We can like what we like from this company and understand that other parts of it are less likable, right? Or, hey, these 3 products from them are great and class leading and really exciting. And these other products, not so much, right? There's nuance to be had in all those conversations. And I think that's an important point.
Yeah. And I don't know. I also want to believe that I feel like there are people at Apple that have the same feelings toward their employer these days. And I feel like there are people at Apple who are generally obviously passionate and they think they're doing the right thing. And so, I don't know, it seems like a very difficult conversation to have about this topic right now. But I don't know. I feel like it's tricky to recognize that the same company can do something that you fundamentally hate, while at the same time making products that you fundamentally love.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there's here's how I would wrap it up for me. I don't know if there's any other community on the internet that feels the same way and has this kind of problem. It feels like a pretty unique problem to have right now in 2024. With the public perception and the missteps that they have had in public over the past few months. It seems a very. I don't think this is happening in Google land. I don't think this is happening in Microsoft land. I mean, Microsoft doesn't even make a phone.
Microsoft sure has its moments.
Yeah,
like a lot of the OpenAI stuff.
Yeah, but like this whole thing of like super fans of the company that used to be the underdog, now it's not the underdog anymore. Now, sort of, having this epiphany or having like this wake up moment of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing to prescribe it to is as a content creator. Like this kind of thing happens more in the communities of content creators, right? Where it's like, oh no, we don't like the content creator anymore.
Yes.
It's closer to that, right? Like, because I mean, I think that most of us have a parasocial relationship with Apple, the entity. At least if you're upset about what's going on,
mm-hmm.
like it's that you care about them and feel like that they should, like, not the people, the brand, right? That like you care about the brand and believe that the brand shouldn't be doing these things. And one of the reasons I think it's easy to have that kind of relationship with Apple is because they operate as an entity. They don't operate as individuals. Like, you don't know who they are, and they won't tell you, right? And so like it's this. Look, I want to come back to something you said a minute ago, Federico, and I'm not like picking apart what you're saying, because I think you came to a very good conclusion, but like I want to jump back to a word that you used as a way for other people to think about this kind of stuff, and kind of where I'm starting to like land on it. You said like, how do I reconcile this?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not sure that we have to. Like, it's a company. The companies are big and complicated and messy, and they're made of people that are complicated and messy, and it's just like a lot of them. Like, I think it is too difficult to ask of yourself to only engage with content or companies that are good. because it is inherently like really hard to get to that, because you like, what are you judging that on? I just think it's too complicated, right? Like, and it's even hard to talk about because it makes it sound like I'm like cancel culture, am I right? Which is not what I'm saying, but it sounds similar. I just think it's like, you just gotta be like, I like my computer, my computer's real good, and I like my phone, and my phone's real good, and I don't have to feel like I need to judge every decision about my phone.
Yes.
Because Apple's taken, you know what? Like they're different. There's different things. Like you don't have to reconcile them. You can like one thing, you can not like another thing. Just by liking one thing does not mean you condone the other thing, right? Like we all have a movie that we like that features someone who's canceled. Everybody has one.
Yeah.
If you say you don't, I don't believe you, right? Because, like, you know, there are bad people all over the place. People that you would deem have done things that are not good, right? Like, there is types of content that you have like really strong emotional feelings. We all know what one I'm talking about. You have really strong emotional feelings too, but you don't like the person who made it anymore. This can even go back to one that's less problematic, like Star Wars, right? Everyone loved Star Wars growing up, and then Star Wars got changed and wasn't so good anymore, but people still love the Star Wars stuff, even though, like, I'm not really sure there's been anything good Star Wars since, like, 1970. But, like, we're still trying, you know, like, we're still just going for it, you know? Although I do actually really love The Mandalorian, but, you know, it's just, like, it's, you know, I'm trying to get myself to this point now where it's, like, I'm just trying to talk about things that I like, and I just got to find my balance where I feel like I'm doing the right thing, talking about the things that are important, but like we're really getting bogged down in the legal documents, aren't we? Right? Like we're really like, we're in them. You know, I've read more press releases from regulatory bodies in the last year than I had in my previous 35. And I'm not really sure I want to do that. But like, I feel like there's got to be a balance. I think that I personally have tipped too far, right? And I want to try and rebalance that based on like how I actually feel as a person. Like in that I love my iPhone more than I care about the DMA.
Or at least for me, to sort of remix what you just said, for me, I think the healthy approach will be, I love my iPhone more than I should care for the ethics of Apple as a company.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Right? And like, because it's full of other stuff, right? Like, what? Now every app developer's got to suffer even more because like Apple's taking money from Patreon? Like that now, like, oh, we're going to abandon our iPhones? Like, no, like, we don't have to do that. Like, we just got to find our balance here. And I think that like where we are like right now, I feel like it's an inflection point. Like we're coming to it, and we can all make our decisions and all go in whatever direction we want. And I think that's happening. I think Federico's hit his inflection point like 2 months ago, and you're making new decisions, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm hitting mine now, and I'm going to make different ones. Like not like different to Federico, but like different to anybody else. Like they're my decisions.
Yeah.
Like, and I think I think we're at a point now where like, gotta maybe we're starting over again. And I think that that's actually like a real good point of just like where technology is today. Like it's all changing. We are at a point where technology is changing, and it's going to change significantly, and it's going to change fast. So it's a good time to be like, let's think about this. So that's where I am.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to find links to the stories we spoke about, look at some pictures of some brown iPhones. Go check them out in your podcast player. They're also on the web at relay.fm/connected/515. There you can submit feedback or follow-up, and you can also become a member and get Connected Pro, which is the longer ad-free version of the show each and every week. This week we gave a listener some tattoo advice. So that's what you're getting this week. Members also get access to our Discord, newsletter, some extra shows each month for members. It's a lot of great stuff, so go check that out. If you want more of us, we're out hanging out on the web. Mike hosts a bunch of other shows here on Relay, and of course, works doing some excellent work at Cortex Brand. You want to announce like a cool secret new product just right here?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
I want to make sure. I don't want it to pass by. You know.
I appreciate you asking though.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. You can find Federico over at macstories.net, where he's the editor-in-chief. I know everyone's heads are down working on iOS reviews for, it could be very soon. It could be in a month. So looking forward to that.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, no, it's, you can find my writing, which is mostly about Performance this day, I'll admit, over at 512pixels.net.
And they weren't problematic, you know, Performance, you know. They're just out there.
I mean, some of them were pretty bad.
Steven?
Some of them were pretty bad computers.
Well, you know, just taking people's money, not being worth it. It's pretty bad.
Some of them. At least you got a lot of bundled software, so you had that going for you. You can find us on social media. Federico is at Vitici. You can find Mike as IMYKE, and I am ISMH86, and we're all on Threads, Instagram, Mastodon. Not that other place. Not anymore. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, NetSuite, Vitally, ExpressVPN, and KRCS. And until next time, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
Bye, y'all.